Believe it or not, procrastination is not a flaw. It's communication. And this particular protector part comes out so strongly in high achievers, and we tend to blame ourselves and feel so much shame about it. My name's Elyssa Smith. I'm a trauma informed executive coach. And today on the Unlock Your Blocks podcast, I want to absolve you from all of your procrastination shame. And I'm going to show you a better path. I'm going to show you the way out because God knows my whole life, I was the biggest procrastinator. I was running late everywhere. I did everything at the last second. I pulled all nighters all the time until I just couldn't do it anymore. And I went through multiple traumas about a decade ago that caused me to really look at how I was approaching my whole life, including the parts that I wasn't proud of, like the procrastination. So it's a really hard thing when you believe that procrastination means that there's something wrong with you, like it's a problem that you're approaching things this way. It's uncomfortable to have a procrastination problem because you aren't getting stuff done the way that I'm giving air quotes, like that you think everyone else is getting them done. You think that you're just defective, that everybody else can do things on time, but not you. The problem with procrastination is that we know what to do and we can't force ourselves to do it during the timing that would make the most sense. It just ends up waiting, for a while. And then we feel terrible about it. And then because we feel terrible about it, we push it off more. And then we push it off more. And then we feel more terrible about it. Procrastination is like this cyclical thing that attacks us in our very core, like the very sense of ourselves is affected by the fact that we procrastinate. Okay, let's take a breath. If you procrastinate, it's not your fault. It's not a defect. It is simply communication from your nervous system. So it's trying to get our attention. Procrastination is just like hey, there's something that doesn't feel safe over here. Just like the other protector parts we've been talking about, overthinking, perfectionism, some of these other things, all of these self sabotage techniques. And I call them techniques because we have perfected them. Thank you very much. They're communication from our system that says something doesn't feel right. Procrastination in particular is an interesting one because I want to walk you through exactly how to step your way out of procrastination. There's a very simple way to help it melt away, but it really requires that we have so much compassion on ourselves, which is typically hard for high achievers. We are not known to be the nicest to ourselves inside our own heads. We're typically our own worst critic. So, as we are on this journey together to repair our relationships with ourselves and to stop abandoning ourselves as we move forward with things like procrastination and overthinking and perfectionism and all that good stuff, it's really important that we take a compassionate look at what's going on. Procrastination is trying to stop us from something that is either meaningful or scary. And typically, it's going to feel very, very risky to move towards things that you haven't done before. So, things that will bring you towards success. Typically, success is kind of like a ladder. You move to the next rung of things that you haven't done. You work hard to get to that rung. And then there's another rung above it that you step to. When you're doing that, putting off getting to that next rung can happen for a lot of reasons. I have one really high performing client right now, and she is at the top of her business. She owns a business, she founded it, and she's one of the top executives in the business. And she really struggles with putting things off until there's a fire lit under her. Now, some people come into a conversation about procrastination saying, well, I procrastinate because I do my best work under pressure. But here's where I would insert a little plug for my TEDx talk, Why You Procrastinate and How to Stop It for Good. You can just literally go to elyssasmith.com/TEDx and go watch that, and then come back here and I'm going to explain some more about this. But I do address this a little more in depth in the TEDx talk about how it's actually not your best work if it's done under pressure. The nervous system, the survival brain, automatically takes out your capacity to think at that higher level, to actually make higher level decisions, and to have your executive functions online for your best thinking. So if you're doing something based on adrenaline and cortisol, it's not your best work. You don't have access to your entire rational brain for that whole process. So imagine if you do so well under pressure, what is possible if you stop procrastinating and actually work on things with your full capacity and full time allowance. It's wild what I've seen my clients do and what I've been able to do in my life once procrastination isn't an issue anymore, which, by the way, that's really possible. For you to stop procrastinating for good is a thing. So let's kind of start in that direction. Let's talk about baby steps today. So, first of all, you have to understand what it is that your system is. Why is it putting on the brakes? Why is it saying, let's put this until later? Let's put this off. Also, you need to understand too what is and isn't procrastination. Procrastination is not just deciding to do something different because it's a better use of your time right now and you'll get to that other thing later. That's not procrastination. Procrastination is when you know that this is the highest and best use of your time. It is the thing that matters the most in this moment. And you are actively choosing something more passive or something different that doesn't need to be done as urgently in order to avoid that top thing. So if you are avoiding doing that top thing in the timing that you need to do it in order to have the full amount of preparation time, that's procrastination. So when you know that you are procrastinating, it's really helpful if you can start asking some questions. What feels unsafe about starting that thing sooner? So this is not just, your body throwing out random self-sabotage things like overthinking and, perfectionism, perfecting things. It can be, but mostly the type of procrastination that I'm talking about is where you just aren't going to start the thing until it's the last second because there's not a fire under you. So the way this client describes it is that when her system is not under fire, because her job is high powered, high impact, can it's not life or death with her clients, but it is really significant life impact stuff. And it moves really quickly and a bit unpredictably in her line of work. So when she doesn't have that kind of a fire underneath her that naturally is happening in her place of work, her system is craving a break. So your system may say it feels unsafe to start that project because I haven't had a flippin' break since the last time we did a really big project and then we went off grid for 3 days afterward. If you do not have internal systems and external systems that are designed to help you experience your life with spaciousness inside of you and with ease as often as possible, even when you're not on a full break, then your system may cause you to procrastinate until there's a fire under you because it's craving a break. It's craving a moment when you're not on fire and you don't have to do something because you're not used to pacing yourself and giving yourself the internal experience of ease and joy and giving yourself breaks when it even small breaks throughout. Another reason you might be procrastinating is because you're used to everything being all or nothing. We are either completely not working on something or we are working full out on something. And it feels weird to just be working on it and be regulated. We might not be used to working on something until we feel like our hair is on fire. And it might feel really uncomfortable to try and do that because it's a new skill. You haven't tried it before. You haven't done it very much before. That's another way to understand procrastination. Another thing is that you might be putting off the thing because there's something scary about the thing. It might be that you're afraid of success, you're afraid of failure, you're afraid of someone else's judgment. That used to mean potential abandonment in childhood. In caveman days, if you got abandoned by the tribe, are you kidding me? You just don't survive. Like the predator comes and eats you. There's nobody protecting you. So as a kid, we learn, oh gosh, well, I'm not going to do anything that jeopardizes my standing in the tribe. That's a good thing. It's really good that you did that as a kid. It's a good thing that I did that as a kid. So we just figure out whatever we need to do to like not do the scary stuff that might make us get abandoned. So we just stick to the stuff we're good at, or we put off the stuff until the very last minute. I have clients that come to me and their kids are procrastinators. They're younger kids, elementary, middle school, high school age kids are procrastinators. And there's a sort of a culture usually in the household where there's pressure to do well. It's not a bad thing to want our children to do well. It's not a bad thing that our parents wanted us to do well. But if we don't give skills on how to actually move forward on things that feel like they might have a scary outcome for us, or what to do when those outcomes don't go the way we want, it's really a lot. It's too much to risk. Our system won't risk it. Here's another one that this was true for me. You may not even really know how to approach a project unless it's all or nothing. Like, you might not actually know the steps to move slowly or move more methodically and pace yourself for something. I had to learn this as an adult. I had to figure out, how do you break down a giant, project into bite-sized pieces that I don't have to complete all in the same day. I had a client when I first started working with people's nervous systems around procrastination. I had a client who wanted to renovate one room in her house, and she would kept setting aside time, but when she would get to that time block, she would say, "Well, I can't do it all today, so I'm not gonna start." So you might only know how to do something if you just do only that until it's done. Maybe your learning curve with this is that you don't have the skills because you never learned them, not because you're lacking anything, but because no one taught you. How do you go gently into a project? I have another client that I'm working with where I'm trying to help her nervous system get cleared around some trauma that happened for her, pretty intense trauma, that is specifically affecting her capacity to get her house kind of cleaned up, tidied up, and ready to renovate. And so we are working on not her brain. What ends up happening is she thinks, okay, I'm going to clear off this counter. And then she's like, and once I clear off the counter, then I'm going to go into the cabinets and then I'm going to take everything out and then I'm going to purge that whole side of the room. And then I'm going to go to that closet. And then I have these other rooms in the house to do. And then I have to really decide, do I want to knock out the wall in the kitchen? And the thought process just keeps going on to future and further away results, further and further away endings to this just cleaning off the one counter. And the other thing that stops her, and so she'll shut down and so she just won't do anything. And that's really natural. That's what would happen to me or to you if we were trying that same thing with that thought process. The other thing that happens with her is she says, okay, I need to clean off this countertop, right? And this is what I used to do. And this is where we start. If no one walked you through a gentle pace for your work, this is what happens a lot of the time. That is such a big ask. Go clear off the counter. Well, how it's like 75 decisions. It's like all these micro decisions. We call it a micro pile of decisions that are sitting there on that counter. So your brain, if it's at the end of a long work day, or if you are dreading getting started on this project, or your brain is adding extra work to you, and then you're looking at this counter and you know that there are at least, a dozen decisions to be made there. I got to figure out where that paperwork goes. I got to open each piece of mail and decide what it is and where it goes and put it into shredder or whatever. And I have to clear off I don't know, whatever the most recent purchases are that are sitting there in the Amazon packages. And then I got to return that one Amazon package. Do you see how quickly the brain can get overwhelmed? Of course, we're procrastinating that job because it's one big micropile. Here's how you break it down. If you know that you're avoiding the project because it's got a scary potential risk to it, then you have to walk through understanding exactly what you feel like you might be risking and make sure that you have a plan for taking care of yourself if that ends up going in your worst case scenario direction. Okay. But if you are procrastinating because the pile has so many micro decisions, or the project seems so big, or you're thinking past the first few steps, you're thinking to the end, to the 105th and 106th step of the project before you get started on one, two, and three. Here's how you tackle that piece. We break this down into baby steps. We figure out, is it that your body is afraid of overworking itself? Is it that you don't have a clear step for your very first step? If you're avoiding the first step of a project, it needs to be broken down into smaller pieces. So instead of, for example, write down everything that's in your mind about this project in a notebook, if that feels too much, I'm just using this as an example, then maybe step one is get out the notebook from the shelf and lay it on your desk. Maybe step two is pick up your purple pen on the desk that's your favorite color and open the notebook to a fresh page. Maybe step three is write down the first thing that feels overwhelming about this project. Do you see how we break that down? And in that case, by the time you get to writing that first thing down, you already checked off three things. So your brain needs to see that it's possible to succeed and make progress step by step with things that feel doable and manageable. So I hope that's helpful for you. There's so much to dig into about this as we continue to heal alongside each other. I hope that you'll come back because I'm going to give you even more tips about how high achievers can really respond to their protector parts that are holding them back so that you can enjoy your life and rise higher and live lighter every day. I hope this was helpful for you. If you want to do a little bit more nervous system work on your own, it's super duper easy, basic, little tiny things that you can do that will give you the biggest impact in my free PDF, 5 nervous system hacks you can do at your desk or anywhere. And just go to elyssasmith.com/reset to download it, and it will get delivered right to your inbox. And you can start today regulating your nervous system and feeling better almost instantly. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Like, subscribe, share this, and I would love for you to pass it on to someone who could use this today. Until next time, take such good care of yourself.